Greetings viewers, Eric the Car Guy here, also known as ETCG1 on this here channel. Here in ETCG1 we talk about stuff. We're not doing repair videos, so please, if you wish to watch repair videos, follow the link in the description of the Eric the Car Guy channel instead of making rude comments down below, because that's just annoying. And if it's your birthday, congrats to you for making another lap around the sun. As I said, we talk about stuff, and sometimes we talk about stuff based on your suggestions. And today's topic was put in the suggestion box by Jethro29. And today's topic is your health and auto repair. One of the things that Jethro had asked was, why not do a video about the health effects of being an automotive technician? Well, I would say that it's not just automotive technicians that may suffer ill effects of their work environment, but I think a lot of people that work in the trades are exposed to things that are carcinogenic, dangerous, could cause issues. My grandfather, for example, was a fabricator and also worked in construction for many, many years. And he passed away of mesothelioma, which is a disease that is often associated with asbestos exposure. Not fun, not pretty, not a good way to go. So we, as technicians, I was going to say men, but also women, we go to work and we make a living so that we can support our, so that we can eat, so we can put roof over our heads, support our families, all that kind of thing. So we give ourselves in order to have an income. As automotive technicians, as I said, we're exposed to things like brake dust is a big one. Things you breathe in are a huge deal. Also some of the chemicals, maybe some of the cleaners, spray cleaners, the aerosols or brake cleaners, things that may even soak through your skin. Some of those fluids like used oil, transmission fluid, antifreeze. Yes, there are long-term health effects, but there are also other short-term health effects that could turn into long-term health problems. It's in a lot of ways a hazardous work environment. Not to mention the injuries that you can suffer. For instance, the burns, especially during the summertime. For whatever reason, it's the weight of oil changes that always seem to come in. It's like 105 degrees outside. They were driving 90 miles an hour to make their appointment, and the engine is about, you could just see the heat waves coming off from underneath it, and you've got to reach up your entire arm up into the engine compartment to get to that oil filter in order to replace it while burning your arm on the exhaust. The cuts, the contusions, I've had hoods. I bumped a hood prop once, and the hood came down and hit me square in the head. That was a very bloody injury. Head injuries, they bleed a lot. And they may not seem so severe, but they certainly do bleed quite a bit. As I said, there's all kinds of things that are just waiting there for you. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why I wear the gloves that I wear, is because it's like an extra layer of skin and helps protect me from all those little cuts that you get. And that's what's funny about cuts. It's like the really big cuts, I mean, they're a big deal and they hurt for sure, but for whatever reason, sometimes those little cuts or little injuries can be so painful and so annoying in other ways, you know, perhaps their location, something like that. Speaking of long-term health effects, I had a good friend of mine who now works for Wells, who used to own his own repair shop, but one day developed an allergy to gasoline and had a very severe reaction to it. And so he was no longer able to work as a technician because of that. Other people I've worked with, back injuries. Back injuries take you out. And I think employers really hate back injuries as well, because as far as insurance and workman's comp and all those other kind of things, they come into play. I've seen back injuries take people out a lot. So how do we combat this? How do we deal with these health effects of the very thing that we need to do in exchange for the money that we use to live our lives? Good question. Personally, I've moved into making videos about auto repair. It's lessened my exposure to a lot of those things, but I still am exposed to those things. So I took a slightly different path as far as my strategy is concerned, but I've always been somewhat aware. But I was also not one to be prone to wearing a dust mask when I probably should have, like I said, when doing those brake jobs, or soaking them down before you remove a brake drum or something like that. But then, you know, you're beating on it and there's junk going everywhere, stuff getting in your eye from hitting things. I'm big on talking about wearing safety glasses. You know, there are some things you can do towards prevention, but I think just in general, just working as a technician or working in the trades, you're going to be exposed to dangerous and harmful situations that could affect your short and long-term health. And it's definitely something that should be considered before you get into this. I mean, it's one thing to work on something, you know, at home in your garage on weekends. It's quite another to be exposed to it on a daily basis. People that work in body work, they're exposed to lots of things that, particulate matter from all the sanding, not to mention back problems from, because they don't work with lifts in body shops for the most part. They might have a frame rack or something like that, but for the most part they're sitting on chairs much like what I'm sitting on here, and sanding along the side of things, and being bent in strange and very uncomfortable positions in order to get the work done that they need to do. So what do we do about this, people? I mean, we can't necessarily go to our employers and say, hey, create safer working conditions, because it's really hard to say what that is. I mean, sure, there are some instances where there could be things done by the employer to make the work environment more safe. A slippery floor can be a big one. I mean, I just keep thinking of things as I'm talking about this in this video, and I'm sure you're going to come up with even more. If you're considering the automotive profession or the skilled trades that involve physical labor, you're going to be confronted with this, and you're going to have to make those decisions as far as how you're going to handle those dangerous chemicals, that particulate matter, any of those things that could potentially cause short or long-term health problems. And one thing that we can't leave off the table that I definitely want to inject into this conversation is stress. Stress is the silent killer, if you will. I've known a few technicians who have passed before their time, and a lot of it was due to the lifestyle choices that they made. And those lifestyle choices were based on the stress that they experienced at work. I'm pretty sure. I mean, sure, there's baggage that people bring to the table a lot of times, but I think because of this, the mentality of, well, geez, I survived another day. I'm going to get blind drunk and wake up tomorrow and, well, hopefully wake up tomorrow and do it all over again. Probably wake up late and be late for work, but as long as I get my work done, the boss don't care. I think you know what I'm getting at there. In fact, I've had stress-related issues. In fact, I was at work one day, and it was, geez, it's coming up on almost 7, maybe even 8 years ago now. It's been long enough to where I've forgotten about it, and I'm happy for it. But I was at work one morning, and back then I used to smoke also. I remember having chest pains. And I was also, the other thing that I experienced is when I would walk from my bay to the parts department, I'd be winded as if I ran the whole way there. So I was having chest pains, and I was, for lack of a better word, shortness of breath, and it was kind of unnerving. But ironically, the other person that I worked with was having an issue with his hand, and he left and went to the doctor to go get something done with his hand, which left me with just one other person and a full workload for that day. And I needed to get the stuff done because I was looking to get out early because I was taking a trip after work. Well, that being said, I got through the better part of the day. Got to about 3, 4 o'clock or whatever it is, and got the better part of the work done. Just sort of wheezed my way through it. And, a couple of people commented, they said, you don't look so good, your color's not quite right. You should probably go and get that checked out, that chest pain thing. Well, I got to tell you, if you go to a hospital or you walk in there and you say you're having chest pains, they will pay attention to you very quickly. It wasn't long after that, after I was wheeled away, and a couple of x-rays later, when the doctor came in and showed me on the x-ray that I had one lung that was black and another lung that was okay. He just said, this lung that's the black lung has collapsed. So I was basically functioning on one lung. One of my lungs had what is called a pneumothorax, which a small hole was in it, and it collapsed. Your lungs are basically balloons, so if you poke a hole in them, they shrivel up and don't work right. And she said, well, the next thing we're going to do is give you a chest tube, and it's going to hurt. And I can tell you, if a doctor looks at you and says something is going to hurt, it's probably going to hurt. And yeah, my chest tube really hurt, and I was in the hospital for another 3, 4 days after that. They went in, did surgery, sewed everything up, and I've been fine since. But I would say that injury was a result probably of stress. In my life at the time, there was a lot going on, and I think that's just the part of me that broke. And that's why I want to bring that up in this conversation. I mean, I know we talk about the chemicals and all the carcinogens and all the things that could possibly harm you long-term and short-term, but I also think it's worth mentioning about stress and how you handle stress in the workplace and the kind of stressful situations you're put into. I mentioned those waiters earlier in this video, having to get things done now, get it out the door, get the next one in, and move along. Well, auto repair doesn't fall into compartments a lot of times. And little things come up, as you've seen in some of my videos, that are unexpected, that you have to deal with, that cost you time. And in this business, time is money. So you're constantly fighting against the clock. You're working with dangerous chemicals and, particulates and all kinds of things. Is there a solution? I'm not sure. Do you just resign yourself to that? Is that one of the reasons why those older guys are just tired of it? And they don't, they start out young and enthusiastic, but I've said in the past, you hit about age 50 in this industry and you say to yourself, why am I doing this to myself? And then by that time, it's kind of too late to start and do something else. So you're stuck. And that may add to the stress even more so. So much has been thrown at you in this video as far as my perspective and the potential problems that you might run into. Now, I throw the discussion back to you, which you can participate in the comments below, or there will be a link in the description to the forum discussion about this over on my website if you choose to go there. What are your experiences with the dangers of the workplace and being an automotive technician, or perhaps some of the other trades that are out there? And what are your long-term plans as far as dealing with those issues? Are you wearing the type of protection that's necessary, like say dust masks, that type of thing? Or what strategies are you employing to deal with those things that could lead to short-term and long-term health issues? Back issues, like I mentioned earlier, that I really only touched on briefly, they do take out a lot of technicians. So if you think you're all big and bad and you're lifting up that transmission or whatever it is that could potentially cause damage to your lower back, think twice, because once that happens and that damage is done and they start going in there and do surgery, you're not right from that point forward. Just saying. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up now. If you have automotive questions, I would ask you head over to ericthecarguy.com. There's a welcome video there to tell you about the stuff at ericthecarguy.com to help you with automotive issues. If you wish to connect with me socially, I can be found on Google+, Facebook, Twitter, and now Instagram. And I close each of my videos, including ETCG1, with be safe, have fun, stay dirty, and do what you can to stay healthy.